Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Aradhyo Bhagwan Vrajesh Tanayas Tadham Vrindavanam Ramyaka Chitupasna Prajuvadu Vargena Taya Kalpita Srimat Bhagavata Puranayamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Mataidam Nayatra Agraha Paraha. So Hare Krishna. Today is Sunday, December 13, 2020, and we have been very fortunate to dive into the wonderful Damodar Lila and the Damodar Ashtakam. Today is the 7th session. We started this in Kartik, and as per the desire of the devotees, we did not rush into it. And as much as we could finish, we are continuing where we left off from last Sunday. Namami Ishwaram Satchidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Vrajavanam Yashoda Biyu Lokkalat Dhavamanam Param Ashtam Atyanta Tato Dhritya Gopya Rudantam Muhur Netra Yugman Mujantam Karam Bhoja Yugmena Satanka Netram Muhu Sash Kampat Rirekhank Kanthastita Graiva Damodar Bhakti Baddam Idriksha Leela Bhid Ananda Kunde Swadosha Nimanjantam Akhyapayantam Tadiyeshid Agneshur Bhaktair Jitatvam Puna Premastam Shata Vruti Vande Varam Deva Moksham Na Moksham Abdhimva Na Cha Anye Brune Aham Var Ishad Apiha Idam Te Vapurnatham Gopala Balam Sada Me Manasi Avirashtam Kim Manye Idam Te Mukham Bhojam Atyanta Nilay Vrutam Kuntalai Snigda Raktais Cha Gopya Muhus Chumbitam Bimba Rakta Dharam Me Manasi Avirashtam Alam Lakshalabhe Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu Prasiddha Prabho Dukkha Jalabdhi Magnam Krupa Drushti Vrushyati Dinam Batanu Grihanesha Mamagyam Edi Akshi Drishya Kuveratma Javbadha Murtaiva Yadvat Taya Mochitau Bhaktir Bhajau Krutaucha Tatha Prema Bhaktim Swakam Me Prayacha Na Mokshe Grihamasti Damodarya Namaste tu Damne Spurat Dipti Dhamne Tvadiya Udarayatha Vishwasya Dhamne Namo Radhikaye Tvadiya Priyaye Namo Ananta Leelaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Ananta Leelaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Ananta Leelaya Devaya Tubhyam. So last time we had started verse number 6. Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu Prasiddha Prabho Dukkha Jalabdhi Magnam Krupa Drushti Vrushyati Dinam Batanu Grihanesha Mamagyam Edi Akshi Drishya. If you all recollect, Satyavrat Muni, as Sanatana Goswami Pad mentions, it is a subtle conversation between Sri Krishna and himself in this Damodar Ashtakam. And in the subtle conversation, we find that Satyavrat Muni is being offered by Krishna liberation, which he spontaneously rejects. And also he's been offered in the previous verses Vaikuntha Loka, which he rejects as well. And before Krishna offers him anything except the bhakti of Golok Vrindavan, he says, Na cha anye vrine aham. I pray to you, O Krishna, that I do not seek any other benedictions. Na cha anye means also our acharyas speak of bhakti that is in the category of the Vaikuntha devotees, such as even devotees like Prahlad, Hanumanji, or even Dhruv Maharaj, etc. So Krishna, being overjoyed with such a statement of Satyavrat Muni, he asked then, what is it that you want? So he then says, if you want to give me, then please, idam te vapurnatham gopala balam sadame manasi avirashtam ki manye. Within my heart, in the core of my heart, may you always manifest your wonderful Gopal Bal, the wonderful pastimes of your childhood. If at all, if you want to give me in Gokul, that is what, if that is the benediction you want to give, that this is what I am seeking. Just like Satyavrat Muni had seen how Mother Yashoda, due to Krishna being naughty, due to the breaking of the butter pots and feeding the crows and the monkeys and making a mess, and all that mischief that he did in the houses of all the Vrajvasis, Mother Yashoda never believed. But today, on Diwali day, on the Indra Yagya day, she was an eyewitness firsthand to his naughtiness. And thus, Mother Yashoda, out of pure, overwhelming Vatsalya Rasa, wanted to punish Krishna with the intent that you are still only 2.5 years old. But as you grow up, I don't know what will happen. And as a mother, I love you so much that I cannot see anybody criticize you. So I must personally correct you. So the main principle, many times we have mentioned this in the last 6 sessions, that Krishna is Bhakta Vatsal, but also, especially for devotees, in the bhav of the Gaudiya Vaishnava bhav or the Vraj bhav, Krishna is Bhakta Vashya. Vashya means he is controlled by his devotees. And Mother Yashoda was able to control Sri Krishna with her love, Damodar Bhakti Baddham. We have explained the meaning of Damodar Bhakti Baddham, just not necessarily that he was tied to the overturned grinding motor with the ribbons and the ropes. But Bhakti Baddham means when Mother Yashoda put him down like an ordinary child, when she went to save the Vaishnav milk, when although Krishna had locked his legs around Mother Yashoda's waist, he could be easily put down on the floor like an ordinary child. Although a demoness like Putna, who has, it is said, had possessed the strength of 10,000 elephants, she could not free herself from the lotus lips of Sri Krishna when Krishna was only 6 days old. So here there is a demonstration of Damodar Bhakti Baddham. Krishna is bound by the love of his devotee, especially here in this case, Mother Yashoda. Our love for Sri Krishna, when it exceeds the love he has for us, then Krishna wants to be controlled by such a devotee. Not that the devotee wants to control Krishna, but Krishna, rather, he wants to be controlled by that devotee. And that makes him Purna Purushottam Bhagwan. If there is a quality that is missing or a desire that is missing in an entity, although he may have all the six opulences, but if he is not able to fulfill a desire, then he cannot be called Bhagwan by definition. So even Bhagwan himself desires that he be controlled by love, by the exceedingly wonderful loving exchanges. So that is Damodar Bhakti Baddha. And when Krishna ran out into the courtyard, Mother Yashoda chasing him with a stick, she was able to chase him, although she was heavy bodied and Krishna was very agile. But due to Damodar Bhakti Baddha, due to her enthusiasm, utsaha, dhairya, nischaya, her determination to punish Krishna for his own well-being out of pure motherly Vatsalya love, she was able to catch Krishna from behind. Paramastam atyanto tato dhrutya gopya. And then, of course, after catching him, Sri Krishna is bound to the ukkal or the grinding motor. And that is also Damodar Bhakti Baddham. Due to the amazing endeavor and the kripa of the Lord, she was able to, the two fingers short every time she tried to tie a knot, that was successful because of her pure motherly love and her determination to punish Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna tests their devotees, even of the highest caliber. And when the devotees succeed in their endeavor of their highest and pure bhakti, it gives immense pleasure to Sri Krishna. So that service also, whether it is chastisement to the Lord or showing a stick or acting like a strict mother sometimes, those are such wonderful moments in Krishna's life that he does not get all those moments in Vaikuntha and in other avatars. That is Damodar Bhakti Baddham. So Satyavrat Muni, seeing all this, as desired because he saw the sweet pastimes in Gokul, how Krishna was stealing the butter in the different gopis' houses, and how the gopis were catching him, and how he with his tricks would free himself and make all those sweet naughty pastimes. Idriksa Lila Vir Ananda Kunde Swagosha Nimanjantam Akhyapayantam. How he drowned the residents of Gokul in a pool of ecstasy. And that is what even Sri Krishna in the conversation with Satyavrat Muni, he declares that those tad ishit agneshu bhaktair chitatvam, those who have knowledge of me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Vaikuntha Adipati, in awe and reverence, in Aishwarya Bhav, please try to understand. See the devotion of my Vrajvasi, see the devotion of my mother in the Vatsalya Rasa, see the devotion of the Gokul Vasis. Like this, and Satyavrat Muni, thus seeing that, he says, Shatavruti Vande, I offer hundreds and hundreds and thousands of obeisances unto such a statement made by Krishna and unto the love that has been the deep love which is not to be found anywhere in the spiritual world except in Golok. I offer my obeisances again and again, thousands, hundreds and hundreds of obeisances to such loving exchanges. And thus, being so pleased, Sri Krishna, finding that Satyavrat Muni has been praising his Satchidanand Roop in Gokul, his beauty, his earrings, his abhushan, and not only that, he is praising his mother's love, and he's praising, the wonderful sweet pastimes. First he has got the Dasya Vishesh, and then the Rupa Vishesh, and then the Leela Vishesh, the Madhurya or the Madhurya Leela, which is Madhur. Madhur means sweet pastimes of Sri Krishna. And those wonderful eulogies that he mentions, Krishna is so pleased, offering him liberation, Vaikuntha, and he rejects all that. And then he's asking for only one benediction at the moment in verse number 4, that please, if you so desire, Krishna, give me this benediction of what I just saw, that of your Bal Gopal, your small little childhood pastimes, they ever be immersed, I ever be immersed in with those pastimes in the core of my heart. Idam te vapurnatham gopalamanam sadami manasi avarashtam kim anye. I do not desire anything else. Kim anye. Anya means others, and kim means uh, why? Why do I have the necessity of any other desires? Please just grant me this. Krishna, being so pleased and as promised, he grants Satyavrat Muni the Vatsalya and the Bal Gopal Leelas within his heart, and more Leelas are manifest. And here in the fifth verse, it was described that how Satyavrat Muni gets more spurtis or more inner visions, transcendental visions of how the lotus feet of Krishna is described. Idam te mukham bhojam atyanta nila. It is so wonderfully is bluish, Krishna's color, that it is a Krishna. That Krishna, it means it's a very special color. It's Krishna also means attractive, all attractive, but Krishna means the darkish color, and that is avyakta. It is not to be found in this material world. It is avyakta nila, a transcendental bluish color. So, like that, describing the beautiful Mukhamboja, the lotus plate of Sri Krishna, that it is encircled by soft, curly hair, which has a wonderful hue of readiness, a redness. And it is as if Krishna's lotus face is like a beautiful lotus, and the dark, blackish, curly hair is like the swarm of bumblebees that is simply encircling the lotus. And some of these bumblebees have a reddish tinge. Therefore, Krishna's hair has also a reddish tinge. Idam te mukham bhojam atyanta nilair vrutam kunthalai snigdha raktais. Raktais means reddish. And then what else does he see? As soon as he sees his face, lotus face, he is so attractive in that Bal Gopal form that he immediately gets the vision of how Mother Yashoda constantly kisses him on his lips, which are described as beautiful and red as the bimba fruit. And while he is seeing Mother Yashoda, also he gets a very special vision or a spurti, that of the Kaishorya Leela, or the Leela when Krishna is much more younger or youthful, along with other gopis that are there in the Madhurya Ras, and they are also kissing the beautiful lotus-like face of Krishna, which is encircled by the bumblebee-like soft hairs. And due to that, Satyavrat Muni develops a greed. Now, we explained last time that the greed is very, very important component in bhakti. Everything can be used. Prabhupada says that whatever qualities we may have, we can use it in Krishna's seva. Because everything emanates from the spiritual world, Janmadiyasya. So even attributes in the material world that are considered antisocial or bad by nature, in the material world, like anger, greed, etc., those itself can be dovetailed in Krishna's service. Like Mother Yashoda herself got angry when Krishna broke the pot and when he made a mess because she had to make so many different items on that Indra Yagya day. And now that she had to clean up and then start all over again, that angered her. And due to that anger also, she wanted to tie him up and punish Krishna. So anger can be used in a very wonderful way. I remember one pastime that Srila Prabhupada, I believe, had mentioned, or I had read this in the biography of Srila Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj. As you all know, Srila Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj is the Gurudev, initiating spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in turn, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada is the spiritual master of His Divine Grace, Abhay Sharana Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. So, Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj is Srila Prabhupada's Param Gurudev. Param Gurudev means the grandfather Gurudev. Guru's Guru is known as Param Guru. So Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj, he was more or less like an Avdut. In Navadvip, he used to go around, sometimes sit in the crematorium, sometimes he would chant the holy names very loudly of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and he would roll in the dust. And most people who saw him, ordinary people who could not figure out who he is, such a super excellent Vaishnava, they used to call him a madman. And especially some of the kids in Navadvip, they used to stone him, throw stones at Gaur Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj. And Babaji Maharaj used to say, I will complain to Mother Yashoda that Krishna, you're not taking care of me. He would be very upset. Look, these boys are stoning me. I cannot do bhajan. This was the ecstatic bhav. He was angry because he could not do his bhajan. Even Lord Shiva, he gets very angry when somebody upsets him. Like Kamdev one time tried to disturb his bhajan. Lord Shiva is always absorbed. He is Vaishnava Naam, Yatha Shambhu, the topmost Vaishnava. Nimna Naam Ganga, Srimad Bhagavatam says, amongst the best of all the rivers, yeah, the flowing rivers is Ganga. And Vaishnava Naam, Yatha Shambhu. Amongst all the Vaishnavas, the best of the topmost Vaishnavas is Shambhu or Shankar Mahadev. So even Lord Shankar, we all know that he has got a third eye. And whenever he opens it when he is extremely angry. And his anger was very much there, even when he showed his anger during the Daksha Yajna, Prajapati Yajna, where he was not given a seat amongst the other demigods because his father-in-law Daksha was envious of him. All the other demigods and the Devi Devtas used to respect Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva used to come into any assembly, everybody got up offering the Lord Shiva obeisances. But Daksha Prajapati, thinking that he is his father-in-law on a bodily concept, he not only did not respect Lord Shiva as a son-in-law, but he abused and he also used profane language against him and did not even invite him to the big yajna that he was going to conduct, and thus so insulted. Lord Shiva, being a Vaishnava, he did not mind that. But seeing that great insult, his wife Sati committed suicide because of the insult that was inflicted on her husband. And when that happened, that was it. Lord Shiva was extremely angry. And then the demons flew here and there that killed everybody that was against Lord Shiva in that yajna. So anger is required. Without anger, even when Lord Ramachandra, who is supposed to be the most composed person, is Maryada Purushottam, nobody can agitate Lord Ramachandra. It is highly impossible to agitate Lord Ramachandra. But Lord Ramachandra, when he fought on the battlefield with Ravan, whenever you fight on the battlefield, you need that anger. Arjun was incited by Lord Sri Krishna to become angry. That transcendental anger was required. Because if you're not angry, you're not evil, you can never do a certain task. Hanumanji was very angry when he burned Lanka due to Ravan and his associates insulting, except Vibhishan, and insulting Lord Ramachandra. And that is the reason why he wanted to just show a very small sample of the power that was invested in him by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra. So like that greed also, we explained this verse last time from Padyavali by Rupa Goswami. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Api Labhyate Tatram Lolyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritair Na Labhyate. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be even obtained by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. But it can be obtained only by paying one price. Api mulyam ekalam. What is that? Intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. Even in the Mangalarti, last time I did quote this verse number 5. Sri Radhika Madhavyo Rapara Madhurya Lila Guna Rupa Namna Prati Shanaswa dana lolupasya vande guroho Sri Charnarvindam. I offer my Danvat pranams, my obeisances unto those pure Vaishnava acharyas, those gurus who are constantly with a lot of greed within their hearts. They are constantly absorbed in the sweet, amorous pastimes of Radha Krishna. Sri Radhika Madhavyur Apara Madhurya Lila, Apar Lila, the non-stop, unlimited, Apar means unlimited pastimes of Radha and Krishna. They are constantly absorbed in it. And Prati Shanaswa Dhanalolupasya, and every moment they are relishing it with great greed. So this greed is very important. Devotees, this is something that we all have a lot of bad qualities in us that are in this material world that can be simply be dovetailed to bhakti. Yes, it is possible. So this greed factor, we all have greed for money, for property, greed, even if we are making a certain amount of money, we are never satisfied with that. Most of us, we want more and more. Knowingly or unknowingly, we are not, although we come to a spiritual life, it is very difficult to give up that greed for material things. And that is perhaps one of the reasons that has been mentioned in the Nam Aparad. Out of the 10 offenses to the holy name, the last one. What is the last offense? The last offense to the holy name is that in spite of chanting and hearing Krishna conscious names and subject matters, we are maintaining a material attachment. And the more we are advanced, the more diametrically opposite our material attachment will diminish. It should be going far apart. Advancement is sort of, we can do a self-analysis that prior to a couple weeks, a couple years, or a couple decades ago, where do we stand? Even though we have been practicing Krishna consciousness, are we still the same person that was always greedy after money and jewelry and other things? Or have things really changed in our lives where there is a level of satisfaction that has come in, and if Krishna has given us a house to stay, a roof over our head, something to eat on our tables, and we have sufficient enough to keep our body and soul together, then we should not do what Rupa Goswami mentions as atyahar, where we should not eat more things and pratyahar. We should not collect more things. The more we collect things, then we're collecting more things means collecting problems. So anyways, coming back to this, Satyavrat Muni develops this greed after he sees the gopis in the Madhurya Ras kiss Sri Krishna on his beautiful red bimba-like lotus lips. And when he sees those, and he just gets a quick glimpse of that, now he has desired to enter from the Vatsalya Ras into the Madhurya Ras. Now his greed has developed, and rightfully so. Nothing wrong with that. But it is a challenge. The moment we try to graduate from a lower class to a higher class, as a material example, not to undermine Vatsalya Ras, it's a specialty. But just to give you a material example, it might be easier to pass the 10th grade, but it would be very difficult to pass the master's exams. And there might be, and even nowadays I hear that even those who go into engineering and medicine, they have to give several papers, and their exams last about 8-9 hours. I mean, I remember in my school days, they had given us 3 hours for all our subjects that we had back in the 70s. And but some of these exams, they go on for like 8 hours, 9 hours. So you can imagine, the more complicated the subject in the material world also, the more harder one has to work towards that goal. So as soon as that spurti or that vision comes to Satyavrat Muni, his entire vision, including the Bal Gopal, the Vatsalya vision, disappears. It disappears completely, just as if somebody is watching a movie on the screen and suddenly there is a blackout, no electricity, completely finished. So like that, So then Satyavrat Muni is devastated. And in his devastation, he prays to Krishna in this 6th verse. Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu. He is saying, oh, I offer my obeisances, Krishna. What have you done? What has happened to me? Or what have I done to deserve this? That I was very nicely able to meditate on your wonderful leelas, and then suddenly I cannot see anything. Those spurtis have gone. Oh Krishna, I am so unfortunate. With that bhav of dainyata, humility. Humility is a very, very important factor. No matter how much we advance, actually, the more we advance, the more humble our countenance becomes. It's a different story that when you are as a preceptor or speaking Harikatha, or somebody who is in the role of a guru, they have a right to chastise because that is the right that comes with the Vyasasana. But once one gets off the Vyasasana, and even that right is only there, limited, as long as the speaker means only well for the listeners. If it is anything to do with sense gratification or self-aggrandizement, then that is extremely wrong, and that does not take the shape of humility. One can be as a preceptor or as a kathakar. One can be like our Srila Prabhupada or Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur he was known as Simha Guru. Simha means lion. When he spoke, the purity flowed so much that he could very well easily make people shiver out of his purity, and because of the purity that he spoke as it is. Same thing with Srila Prabhupada, but that was only for one purpose. That was for the purpose for the listener, for the listener's eternal well-being. So otherwise they were as loud and as bold as a thunderbolt, but inside they were very soft, like a rose, or a soft like a lotus. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when even anybody, including his own disciples, when they bowed down, he used to say very softly, Daso Asmi, I am your servant. He used to say that to his disciples. That is real humility. Srila Prabhupada, when he was all over the world, he traveled 12, 13 times. The holy name of Krishna spread everywhere. Krishna consciousness spread like wildfire. Millions and millions of books were distributed that were compiled by Srila Prabhupada. And against those, the donations also kept flowing in with millions and millions of dollars. But Srila Prabhupada was so humble. He never even took advantage of an extra paisa or a cent than it was required. And this is something that we all have to learn. We can only learn it when we hear and listen to the pastimes of these pure Vaishnavas. Talking about the humility of Srila Prabhupada, because we are talking about humility. Humility is required. Satyavrat Muni has now become extremely humble. And talking about, there are many, many examples, but one comes to my mind is when Srila Prabhupada came back from the US, first time back in 1966, I believe, or 67, back to India. He came along with a few of his American, Caucasian, white disciples, or Prabhupada used to call him his white elephants. Anyways, when he came and he said that we will be going to Vrindavan, so from Delhi they took the train and then they came to Mathura. And when they arrived in Mathura, at that time Srila Prabhupada with his few disciples started walking away from the railway station into the main city. And because he wanted to take a tonga or a ghoda gadi, the horse-drawn carriage. At that time there were no, hardly there were any motor cars or taxis that would be acting like motor cars in Mathura or Vrindavan. It was mostly by either you walk or you take the horse-drawn carriage. So when Prabhupada walked about 2 kilometers at that old age, after a long tiring journey, he walked into Mathura city and they followed him. And then when he stopped one horse-drawn carriage, he says, yes, I would like to go to Vrindavan. And then he negotiated with him also. And then he signaled to his disciples, come on, let's put the luggage and now we can go to Vrindavan. So then, en route to Vrindavan, one of the disciples asked, Prabhupada ji, there were about at least 10 to 15 carriages outside the Mathura station. Why didn't you take those? So Prabhupada said, they always charge double or triple. And we have this experience, even today, if you go to the airport or if you're going to any major junction or train station, and you take the auto rickshaw or a taxi, they don't want to engage their meter. They want to charge you probably 3 times or 4 times more. And although it is illegal, that is the practice. So this practice has been going on for many, many years. So Prabhupada said, if we had taken a horse-drawn carriage at Mathura station, it would have cost us 2 rupees to go to Vrindavan. And here it only costs, this man in the city is only charging 1 rupee. To save 1 rupee. And Prabhupada already had a lot of US dollars because of the donations that he had received from many very well-wishers and out of the book distributions. But this is what the quality of a Vaishnava is, that everything, Ishavasya idam sarvam, everything belongs to Sri Krishna. This is Krishna's property. So we have to learn from that. A lot of us, because we may be leaders or we have that authority for temple accounts, and sometimes we see that we are using the temple's money, although we can use ordinary economy class, some of them, they use first class to travel international or even domestic. It's not required. What right do we have when this is the money that people gave in faith for Krishna, for the movement, then we have no right to spend it. And Prabhupada would sometimes cry when the devotees would come back and give their Prabhupada news and updates about the books. Prabhupada today, the Chaitanya Charitamrita was translated into French, or the Bhagavatam was translated into Spanish, and now they are distributing Bhagavatam in Spain or in Portugal, in Portuguese. So Prabhupada used to cry when that would happen, when the news would come to him. And he said, just see how kind my Guru Maharaj is. I am an old man. He has sent you young boys and girls to assist me. That is humility. They are his disciples, initiated by Srila Prabhupada, but he never said that or he never felt like that. Although he may sometimes externally say that he is my disciple, but when the true humility is expressed, when he says, my Guru Maharaj sent you young boys and girls to assist me. Otherwise, what can an old man like me do? That is humility. And everything actually, even today, Srila Prabhupada is doing. Even today, as I'm speaking today, this Harikatha, it is to the glories of Srila Prabhupada. Ekaki amar nahi paye bal hari naam sankirtane. I do not have any strength to do so. It is his divine grace only who is giving me that inspiration. He is giving me that remembrance, so that what I had read through his books, I am able to share amongst the group of devotees. So this is humility. Unless and until humility is required for the more the advanced the devotee, the more humble he is or she is. The gopis are the most advanced. Radharani is the pinnacle of bhakti. She is Bhakti Devi. But how humble are they? We find that in the Gopi Geet. The whole month we sang Gopi Geet every evening. And those of you all were there for the Gopi Geet classes, you perhaps got a glimpse. We all got a little glimpse about the bhav of the gopis, how humble they were to attract Sri Krishna when Krishna disappeared. So thinking like that, Satyavrat Muni in the same mood, that he remembers that when Krishna disappeared, what attracted Sri Krishna was Sankirtan, the humble mood. And that is why in the 6th verse, he is approaching the Supreme Lord with the utmost humility, more or less with the same kind of bhav as the gopis when Krishna had disappeared from the Ras Leela. Just like as if he was in his own Ras Leela with Krishna, meaning his own sweet pastimes that Krishna had engaged him in, that when those pastimes disappeared, the pastimes of Sri Krishna, the name of Sri Krishna, the paraphernalia of Sri Krishna, the dham of Sri Krishna, they are all Sri Krishna. Nam na namino abhinna. They are non-different from Krishna. So Krishna's Leela and Krishna are non-different. This is something that it is very difficult to understand and realize. But the day we realize that the holy name, when we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, when we are singing the holy name, we are actually associating with Sri Krishna, or we are calling out to him because we are missing him, so that we can get his association. That is why he is actually addressing Krishna Damodar. He is addressing Damodar because he has just seen the Leela where Mother Yashoda has tied him with the ropes, and Dam means the rope and Udara, it means the stomach. One who was tied by the ropes by Mother Yashoda in Vatsalya Rasa is known as Damodar. But also he has got that spurti, that Damodar means also that when Krishna in his Kaishorya Leela or in his youthful Leela, when he was punished by the gopis like Radharani, Lalita, Vishakha, and all the other manjaris that were very close to Radharani, the servitors of Radha, they used to tie him up to a tamal tree with their odhani or with their achal, with their upper garment, so that Krishna would not escape. Or sometimes he would be punished because of him making Radharani upset, or making her, Radharani would cry in his separation. He had promised to come at a certain time and he never showed up. So whenever he came at that time, he was fully punished. Punished not only with harsh words, but also punished physically by him being tied to a tree. So Damodar also means that from one perspective is Krishna who was tied on his belly, either by Mother Yashoda or the gopis. So like that, here he is invoking the Manglacharan. The Manglacharan means the auspiciousness. The inauspiciousness has come upon him. And to invoke that auspiciousness, he is calling out to Krishna, and he's calling out him by his Pramukh Naam. And he doesn't call out, Hey Prabhu, Hey Paramatma, Hey Parameshwar. No. He says, Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu. So we also explained that Ananta means you are inconceivable, you are unlimited, and therefore Vishnu. So we had explained last time, we had touched on this topic a little bit. Why Vishnu? He uses the word Vishnu. Our Gaudiya Acharyas have shown so much interest in this Damodar Ashtakam, and we are because of our nature of Madhuri Rasa and of the Golok Vrindavan pastimes of that nature. What has that got to do with the word Vishnu? Why is it acceptable? So here our Sanatana Goswami Pad explains that Vishnu means all-pervading, that all-pervading Nandan, who is in several different prakostas of Vraj or in Golok Vrindavan. Sometimes he is in an area of Golok Vrindavan. He is always the 2.5-year-old or the 4-year-old or the 7-year-old Krishna. He does not grow up. And for those devotees who always want to see him in that Vatsalya Ras Bhav, they will never be able to, they're not interested in the other rasas. So then Krishna satisfies them by creating those domains in Golok Vrindavan. I do remember, for example, from my own practical example, I will mention this, that my nani, my grandmother, she was a wonderful, great Vaishnavi in the Vatsalya Rasa, in the Pushtimar Sampradaya of Sri Vallabhacharya Pad. And her bhakti from our childhood, we did not appreciate it until actually I came to ISKCON, because otherwise it just looked like she was just an old sentimental woman who just liked to, play with Krishna. And her whole entire seva started at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and it will last till 2 p.m. So we are talking about an easy 10 hours of non-stop seva. And even at the age of 90 or 90 plus, she used to, and she had taken a vow, at a very young age when she was practicing her bhakti, when she had taken a very special initiation that is known as Marjan. I don't know how many of you all know about that. I'm sure there is another devotee who is present here, who is from their Sampradaya, Pankit Prabhu. Marjan is a vow that a devotee takes, that only they will cook for Krishna, and whatever they cook for Krishna, they will offer it to Sri Krishna, and then they will take. They will not eat of anybody else's hands. And even if they do, it will be from a very senior Vaishnava, equal or better than them. So this is because I remember in my childhood, even my grandfather's sister, she was much more older to my grandmother. And I do remember that when she went to the native place, how she used to only take prasadam from her sister-in-law, because she was also very, very advanced Vaishnavi. Anyways, so at one point, we are many grandsons. She has 5 daughters, one son, and one stepdaughter and one stepson. My grandfather had a previous marriage and she had passed away, and then he married my present, this grandmother that I'm talking about. Anyways, to make a long story short, at some point, us grandkids were always asking grandmother to come to the West, to the United States where we lived. We were at least about 6 or 7 of us in different states. And she could not, because she had her Thakurji. She had to every day make bhog, and every day, sing to him and play with him with the toys and all those, just like a real person. And for her to leave that would be very difficult. So we've been requesting her to bring her Thakurji with her, because sometimes she would take it to Gokul or she would take it to the native place in Gujarat. So she would also carry it to the US, but she was afraid to do that, thinking that there would be some anasar or some kind of aparad that would be committed if she took Thakurji to the US. So at one point, finally, she knew that it was time for her to go very soon. So she just wanted to please the grandkids. So at the age of 91, she actually padraved the Thakurji to another Vaishnavi, who was capable, and gave her deities to that Vaishnavi to take care, and she decided to come to the US for 1 month. Somebody may wonder why I'm telling this story, because it has a connection, and very soon you will find out. So she came to the US, she went to New Jersey, she came to Chicago, she stayed with me. I was fortunate that she stayed with me the most, and actually she saw that there was some level of devotion. Although I was in ISKCON, she used to chastise me quite a bit, that why are you in ISKCON? You should come to my sampradaya and I will give you my seva. I said, Ba, it's too late. I have already in and surrendered myself to Prabhupada. There was no preaching in this Pushti Marg Sampradaya, really speaking. I didn't even really understand who Krishna is really until I came to this ISKCON movement, until I read Srila Prabhupada's books. So, but I'm sure, at the end of the day, we are all in Golok when we are purified. And I'm sure, by your mercy, I have come to the lotus feet of Prabhupada, because since my childhood, I've been very fortunate to have the prasad of Srinathji. And that is so true. I mean, there's so much prasad that I had, and I was the first-born grandchild. I got immense love for her, from her, and I had immense love for her. So there was so much reciprocation there. And it is by her prasad only that somewhere or the other that seed of devotion was sown. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, further it fructified into proper understanding, and perhaps or maybe a drop of realization. So anyways, when she came to Chicago and she saw my seva and everything, and she would sit and look at me and do that, it was completely different than what she was used to, but she was appreciative. And she even, took prasad made from my hands. And that gave me immense joy, that a Maha Bhagavati, I realized that in our own home, we had such a great caliber Vaishnavi, which none of us in our childhood or otherwise, even when she passed away, most of the family members could not recognize who she really is. Anyways, so when I used to go every Sunday to the Chicago ISKCON temple, Kishore Kishori Mandir, I said, Ba, she was there for 2 weeks. So let us go to the temple. I will take you there. So she would please me. Wherever I took her, she would go. So then, my mother, my aunt and her, and I was there. And when we entered the Kishore Kishori Mandir, she sat in one corner, far away from the main temple altar. And she was simply, doing her own, mumbling her own verses that were there in her sampradaya, glorifying Krishna. Then when it was about to close the curtains, I said, Ba, can you come closer? Take the darshan of Kishore Kishori. I went to her. I walked maybe about 20 steps away from the altar to bring her to the altar. But then, just to respect me from far, she did this to the altar. And then she just said, I'm fine here. That's what she said. At that time, I did not understand, honestly. And then I was wondering, why is it that she never came close to the altar? Usually, to see the beautiful Kishore Kishori, devotees would flock around, sometimes pushing each other. When the darshan opened, they were so gorgeous, so beautiful, that, to sometimes get a darshan, you're second or third in the row or in the line to take darshan. But here she is, simply sitting there. So I felt a little strange. Then, later on, I understood that her bhav was Vatsalya Ras. She did not like to see Krishna in the Kaishorya, in the full-blown youth. Her bhav was Srinathji, the 7-year-old, or the baby Krishna. So that is the prakostas. When a pure devotee goes back home to Gola Vrindavan, based on their affinity for Krishna or their bhav for Krishna, Krishna actually becomes Bhakta Vashya. And within those lotus-like shape of Vrindavan, Gola Vrindavan, there are different prakostas where the devotees, as per their bhav, they are given entrance. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, there is a prakosta of Navadvip and Mayapur, where the original form of Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, the Panchatattva, and all those associates, including Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are eternally present. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is who? Radha Govinda. So he is also present in the Madhurya Rasa, in the different. So that is why he is simultaneously present as Bal Gopal. Sometimes he is present as Sakha Gopal, and he is present as Kishore Krishna in his pastimes, and therefore simultaneous presence is known as Vishnu. I have taken so much time to explain just this one word Vishnu because it is interesting. Because otherwise we are not interested as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Vishnu is a Vaikuntha. What is our connection? And Satyavrat Muni has specifically mentioned the word Vishnu with this particular consciousness. And therefore it is accepted by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. I hope this long explanation of just the word Vishnu, you all will be able to absorb it and take it home with you today. And then whenever you sing Damodar Ashtakam, one will realize that Krishna is present simultaneously, sometimes at Radhakund, sometimes at Keshi Ghat, sometimes at Vamshivat, sometimes in Gokul, sometimes in Brahman Ghat, sometimes at Dauji, sometimes in the caves of Govardhan, and in different places in the Govardhan, Kusum Sarovar, Mansi Ganga, like that, Govind Kund, Jadhipura, like that, he is simultaneously present. Sometimes he is showing himself to Sri Vallabhacharya Pad near Govind Kund, where he is coming, and Vallabhacharya Pad is sleeping in the lap of his disciple, Damodar Hansraiji. And when Damodar Hansraiji sees that Srinathji came running to Vallabhacharya, then because of the nupur or the ankle bells of Srinathji, it would wake his guru up. So he stops Srinathji. You stop there. You don't walk anymore. You come closer, you will wake up my guru Vallabhacharya. This was the bhav. So this Srinathji is simultaneously present somewhere in Radhakund, frolicking with Radharani and the gopis, and sometimes in Mansarovar, or sometimes in Mangad, or in Dangad, or Morkutir in Barsana, or in the different parts of Vraj. Therefore, he is known as Vishnu. Vishnu means one who is simultaneously present or capable of being present everywhere. So, Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu. He's saying that you are so unlimited. Why are you just making me feel like I've got nothing? You are so unlimited in all respects, and I have zero now. What happened? He says, the Prasiddha, please be pleased on me. He does Sankirtan, calling out. So this is the process of Sankirtan. The process of Sankirtan is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has defined that how we should be taking the holy names. The holy names should be taken by the following qualities. Trinadapi sunichena taro iva sahishnunam amanena manedena kirtanya sadahari. One should be Trinadapi sunichena, humbler than a blade of grass. Because a grass also, when somebody walks on a blade of grass, the moment one lifts the foot, the grass again springs back up again from that position. So Mahaprabhu has said Trinadapi sunichena, more humbler than a blade of grass. Taro iva sahishnuna, taro api sahishnuma. One should be more tolerant than a tree. A tree is extremely tolerant, no matter what the weather is. Right now, we are in North America, most of us, and we see that now it's already started snowing quite a bit, and now we will have sub-zero temperatures, but the tree will stand there throughout the winter. And then during the summertime, it is full of flowers and fruits, and then it gives shade from the hot scorching sun. And it is the same people who the tree gives shade sometimes cuts its branches. We see that here, especially where I am, a lot of these people have a lot of hectarage on their farms, and they have a lot of trees, and they chop them down for firewood, to put it into their fireplaces. So the tree tolerates everything. The tree tolerates all kinds of weather, all kinds of abuse. Therefore, Mahaprabhu has said one's tolerance should be like that of a tree. And then the third criteria should be amanena manidena kirtanya sadahari. One should offer respect to all and not expect respect for the self. This is extremely difficult to do. It is very easy for people to preach and say it, but when it comes to practical and personal interactions, sometimes we lose composure. Sometimes we want respect. We want man. We give man. Sometimes we do not give man, but some people give man, but they also expect man. But that is the criteria. Then kirtanya sadahari. Then if we are humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, and if we are not expecting any respect for the self, but giving respect to all, then we are most qualified to chant the holy names. And chanting the holy names, that qualification means actually Krishna is so pleased that he wants to associate with that devotee through the holy name, seeing those qualities. But unfortunately, Mahaprabhu says that those qualities are not developing. Why? He answers that in the 4th verse. Because dhanam, janam, sundarim, kavita, va jagdish kamai. Because of the following reasons. Because we are attracted to janam. Even after coming to spiritual life, sometimes devotees get that opportunity to become very famous. They become good speakers. They find there are so many followers. Janam. A lot of people are following them. They're becoming followers. So when that pratishtha comes in, then I am something. So now dhanam, when there is wealth, even sometimes, even I'm talking about the devotee community. Forget about the outsiders. I need not explain further for the gross materialistic. But dhanam, even we see that speakers, or those who are engaged in Krishna consciousness, and due to the faith that they have imbibed in the listeners, a lot of money follows. Dhanam. We see big speakers, and then it becomes a habit for them. Initially, when they start, they are very humble, and they have a very proper countenance and perhaps a proper mood. But later on, when the followers latch on, and when the money flows in, then it becomes their right for respect, and it becomes their right for money. And that's where Maya has completely taken over them. That is the last snare of Maya, pratishtha. Kamini kanchana pratishtha. When the devotees also get attracted, a lot of them fail when they take to devotional service. We have seen so many persons falling prey to the opposite sex. Even big sannyasis who had a big name at one time, they sometimes, the influence of Maya is so amazing. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya duratya. We have seen many sannyasis who they have sometimes even married their own disciples. And it is like Shastra says that those who have taken sannyas ashram and then they change their ashram into grihastha, or they get married again, then it is like tasting their own vomit, licking their own vomit. When we reject vomit, nobody even wants to look at it. We want to get rid of it. We want to flush it away. But can you imagine somebody when they see their vomit and when it is vomited on the floor, and then they take it as if they are eating some relishable thing, and they are actually licking it? And that is how our Shastras describe. So that is because that humility disappears. Dhanam, that money follows. All these so-called professional Bhagavad speakers, even in Vrindavan Dham, we have seen that some have started with a very humble mood, and later on they get all these invitations. Those big business magnates, industrialists, And when they speak, they have this big pandal programs with tens and thousands of people, and then they have all these fancy sofas lined up for the actually non-devotees, because they are the most gross materialists, but because they are giving money. There's a saying in Gujarati. What is that saying? Nana vagarno nathyo nane nathalal. When somebody who doesn't have money, they call him, hey Nathya, idara. Oh Nathya, come here. But when he has a lot of money, he says, oh Nathalal, come here please. Oh, where are you? We have not seen you in a long time. Aiye, aiye, baithiye, birajiye. So this is what we have seen practically. Even it has happened in our own movement. Certain Kathakars, those who have taken that shape. I know one special Kathakar who speaks very eloquently and fluently in Hindi. And then nowadays he is so chaplusi, he does only calls, he makes those calls in North America to all those who are rich. He counts them by how many cars they have on his driveway. He counts them how much money they have. He actually gets a biodata from other people. So if you and I call him to our humble abode, he will not have time. He will say that, I'm engaged, but next time I will come. So these are the modus operandi that they use. Na dhanam na janam na sundarin. And then they get acquainted with some female, and that's it. And then even if they don't, Kavita ava Jagdish kamaye. Mahaprabhu says, Kavita ava Jagdish. Kavita means those who are so much, by the flowery language, by the praises, chaplusi, wholesome butter. They like that. So when we have all these things, then how can we become Trinada Pisunichana Taro Ivasa Ishnana Amanena Mandena Kirtanya Sadari? How can we constantly change chant the holy name with that purity without those offenses? Srila Prabhupada said that when we chant the holy name in Shuddhanam, Krishna dances on our tongue. How many of us we feel that? Because of the offenses that we are committing. And especially those in the name of religion, when they do that, true humility will never develop. They speak about Gopi Geet, they speak about Venu Geet, they speak about Pancha Rasadhyay, but they are doing exactly the opposite. Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very first verse, we have already studied that. Dharma projita kaitavatra parmo nirmat saranam sata. This Srimad Bhagavatam is only for those who come with the desire by rejecting all kinds of cheating religions. But in the name of Bhagavatam, they are cheating. This is the situation we are going through in Kali Yuga. So how you can expect Krishna to be merciful in that sense, like he is to the pure devotees like Mother Yashoda or the gopis? We want Krishna prem, but we want Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim and Kavita. And therefore Mahaprabhu has meticulously explained verse number 3 and verse number 4 of Sistastakam, how nicely he has given the solution and he has given the problem. Both are there. He has third and fourth verses. So like this, Satyavrat Muni in great humility has started crying. And like in the Sistastakam also, Mahaprabhu is crying. He's saying that, what is that verse in the Sistastakam? That Nayanam Galadashnu Dharaya Vadanam Gad Gad Rudaya Gira Pulakir Nachitam Vapu Kada Tava Nam Grihanesh Bhavashyati. Torrents of rain or like tears are flowing from my eyes. My hairs are standing on an end. Pulakir Nichitam Vapu Kada Vadanam Gad Gad Rudaya Gira. I cannot even chant the holy name properly. Gad Gada Rudaya Gira means the tongue, the speech is faltering. When and how many times does that happen to us? So when that humility of that Gopi Bhav comes, then that will happen. Or at least when we try to have that sincere desire, following the footsteps of the Gopi, Satyavrat Muni is crying now, performing Sankirtan. Because Sankirtan is the best way to attract Krishna. He is expressing that Dukkha Jalabdhi Magnam. I'm suffering so much, and I am, Jal means a network or a net, just like a fisherman throws a net catching fish, or a hunter. And Abdi means an ocean. I'm falling in this ocean of nescience, in this ocean of materiality. Because I've become material, and that is the reason I've lost my vision, my transcendental vision. Again, Mahaprabhu's Sistastakam here comes, where he's saying, Ei Nanda Tanuja Kim Karo Patitamam Vishame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dulim sadrisham vichintaya. He's telling, in a very humble mood, crying like a beggar. Like we've seen beggars, oh Baba, Baba, oh, ai Nanda Tanuja, oh son of Nanda Maharaj, Kim Karo, I am your eternal servant. Kim means what? Kara means what should I do? Kim Kara. Kim Kara is a very special word. It is used for gopis and manjaris because they're always enthusiastic to serve Radharani. They say, what else can I do? What else can I do? They never stop. One service is finished and then they go and say, what else can I do? What else can I do? So that is called Kim Kara. Kim Kara. So like that Mahaprabhu's mood is Gaudiya Vaishnava. That is why he uses this wonderful word Kim Karo. Ai Nanda Tanuja Kim Karo. Patita Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha. I am so fallen. Vishame. Visha means this material world. Bhavam Buddha. Bhava means this material world. Ambuddha means this ocean. Same thing he is expressing. Satyavrat Muni. Jala Abdi Magnam. I am drowning. Magnam means drowning in this ocean of miseries. And so therefore, please, Kripa Drishti Brishyati Ati Dinam Batanu. Please shower your glances on us. Exactly in the Gopi verse, there are 2-3 verses that describe the same thing. That my dear Krishna, please bestow your glances and the pranata dehina kamadam, that all the different desires that we have you can fulfill by simply glancing at us, or putting your hand on our head, or putting your lotus feet on our chest. So similar bhav, that I am drowning in this ocean of material world, in this samsara, Vishayi, Ati Dinam, in a very extremely miserable condition I am. Anugrahana, please treat me with kindness. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. I am very fallen. He admits that. Previously, it is as if like when he got the vision in the 5th verse, where he's seeing all the kissing of Damodar, he perhaps a certain mood, an external mood of the gopis, like in the Ras Leela, where they thought that, we are so fortunate that Krishna is only dancing with us. Like that, Krishna, I am the only one who Krishna has perhaps given me this vision. He perhaps must have felt like that. So Krishna, just like he disappeared from the Ras Mandal to kind of, teach the gopis that pride is not a good thing. So like that, now Satyavrat Muni, thinking on the lines of Gopi Git, he was also feeling that perhaps I had developed that pride in me, and therefore Krishna is punishing me by disappearing. And therefore he is saying, Ati Dinam, I'm extremely miserable. Anugrahana. But Anugrahana, treat me with kindness, O Krishna, enlivening me by delivering me. Please deliver me. Isha Mama Agyam Edi Akshi Drishyaha. O supremely independent controller. Isha means Ishwara. So now he has become very humble, and he has taken the stance of Aishwarya here, so that he can attract Sri Krishna again, which he had originally started by the same bhav, Namami Ishwaram. So same way, Isha, Ishwaram. So Isha Mama Agyam, please overlook my bad quality of ignorance. Edhi, please become Akshi. Akshi means Drishya. Please come back. Give me that vision back again. Akshi means eyes, and Drishya means please become visible. Just like we pray to Lord Jagannath, Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Same thing, exactly the same meaning. Okay, Edhi Akshi Drishyaha. Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Please glance your merciful glance on me. The devotee is praying to Lord Jagannath. So Edi Akshi Drishyaha. Like this, Satyavrat Muni has become very humble. He is performing Sankirtan. He's performing Sankirtan just like following in the footsteps of the gopis. And when that happens, he is further feeling more and more humble. And then he goes into the 7th verse. In the 7th verse, he's saying, Kuver Atma Jao, Baddha, Murtaiva yadvat taya mochitav bhakti bhajau krutavcha. तथा प्रेम भक्तिम स्वकाम में प्रयच्छा ना में ना मोक्षे गृहमस्ति दामोदर्या. So here he is speaking about this particular pastime, which I will actually continue from where we left off. Where after Mother Yashoda, so there is a connection to verse number 7, and I'm going to kind of rewind back a little bit out of the Damodar Ashtakam to go into the Leela, and then we will connect to verse number 7. So if you all remember, Mother Yashoda has caught up with Sri Krishna. And he is tied to the grinding motor Ukkal. And again, if you all remember, our bhav was what the acharyas explained, that Mother Yashoda wanted to punish both. Mother Yashoda tells the Krishna, you are khal, you are a cheater. And then he's saying, you are ukhal. Ukhal means the grinding motor. You are a partner in crime that helped Krishna make a mess of all the saved butter that I had on the rafters, and that was simply given away to the monkeys and to the crows. So you are a partner in crime, so you both have to be tied together. So again, we have to remember that everything is full of consciousness in the Golok Vrindavan, in the Vaikuntha Lokas. Everything is a Vaishnava, every entity is a Vaishnava. So that Ukkal is being also punished along. Just like a criminal sometimes is tied along with another criminal. The police, they put one cuff on one hand to one criminal, and then while they are transporting more than one criminal, they make a chain by putting the other hand chain to the other one, and like that. So, so after he is tied, then what happens is it's already daytime, and all the gopis are gathered and they are watching the fun. They give the ropes to Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda is successfully able to tie the knot finally, due to her personal amazing endeavor and by the kripa of Sri Krishna. Now Mother Yashoda says, come, let us go. We have a lot of work. I think I will need a lot of help. You all stay here. And of course they were going to help Nandarani. Every morning they come because they really love Yashoda Ma, and they always try to help her, and they always try to recite so many different wonderful pastimes of Sri Krishna, which Mother Yashoda relishes, that she had missed out when Krishna leaves her own palace. So like this, they all go into the kitchen and they start helping Mother Yashoda. Here, it is also early, it is morning already, the sun has already dawned, and all the different Gopals, the young boys of Gokul, the friends of Krishna, the little 2.5-year-old, 3-year-olds, they also arrive. See, that is the thing. They cannot live without Krishna. That they are so attracted to Krishna. Every morning they come to Nanda Bhavan. There's a very nice pada of Narsi Mehta. Those who are Gujaratis will understand it, but I will try to translate the first. This is a wonderful bhav. He was a great Vaishnava too, Vaishnava. There's a nice pad called Hey Jagne Jadava Krishna Govadia. So here in this pad or in this song is Hey Jagne Jadava Krishna Govadia तुझ बिना धेन मां कौन जाशे हे जागने जादवा त्रण सेने 60 गोवा टोड़े रे मड़िया वड़ो रे गोवाड़ियो कौन था शे हे जाग रे जादवा. It's a beautiful song. Mother Yashoda, Krishna is still sleeping, and she's saying, hey Jagre Jadava, wake up, oh Krishna, oh Jadav, oh descendant of the Yadu dynasty, please wake up. Because Trana Sene Saath Govar Tode Re Madhya, there are 360 coward boys waiting for you outside. Vadore Govadiyo Kauna Thashere, who will become the chief cowherd boy amongst them? Please wake up. They are all waiting for you eagerly. Transene Saath Govar Tode Re Madhya, Vadore Govadiyo Kauna Thashere. And like that, Mother Yashoda sings beautifully. Narsi Mehta is expressing how Mother Yashoda sings. It's called a Prabhatya. It's a morning song. And like we sing Mangalarti, something similar to that, that where Mother Yashoda sings different songs to wake up Krishna. So similarly, since they started walking, these little boys, the coward boys, they used to come every morning to Krishna. And now what they saw, that when they entered the courtyard, they heard the crying of Krishna in that particular direction where the storeroom was. So they immediately got attracted to Krishna's sound, and all of them went inside that room. And what did they see? Oh, they saw that Krishna is crying and is tied to a grinding mortar. And Krishna is telling, Subal, can you untie me? Madhumangal, please untie me. And Madhumangal, Subal, they go and try to untie that knot, but they cannot. They tried very hard, and then all the other cow, oh, hato, move, let me try. And they all tried, but nobody could open that knot. While this kolahal, this sound of, let me try, and Krishna crying, and they're trying to free Krishna is going on at that time, Mother Rohini, who had gone to Sri Upananda's house, the elder brother of Nanda Maharaj, the previous night to prepare for the festival, she comes back with her little son, who is also 2.5 years old, Balram. And when she walks into the courtyard, Balram really hears the sound of the voice, so he immediately gets loose from her mother's hand and runs to the room. And Mother Rohini, thinking that all the boys are playing there, didn't bother to go there, and she just went straight to the kitchen to help Mother Yashoda along with the other gopis. So when Balram goes into the room, he sees there is a huge circle of coward boys, and then he makes his way inside and he sees Krishna tied to a grinding mortar in a very miserable state. He is crying, his mascara is all messed up, and like he is crying, and all these boys are trying, and still nothing happened. So Balram says, when he sees Balram, he says, Dau, please help me. Please free me. So Dau, first of all, even before doing anything, he is extremely angry. Now he is Seshna, he is Ananda Sesha. In his original roop, we know who he is. He says, who dare do this to my brother? And he's looking at every coward boy with his eyes popped out, trying to find who is the culprit who tied my brother, even though it might be in a game. But it's not a game anymore. My brother is crying. So who did this? So then Madhumangal leans over and tells, Dau Dada, Yashoda Maiya. Oh, Yashoda Maiya. So Dau Dada is also kind of taken aback. And then Krishna says, Dau. And then Dau goes to unknot, to untie Krishna. Dau, Bala Ram. Bala means strength, and Ram means one who is the possessor or one who gives joy. Not only, of course, it is the strength, physical strength, but also spiritual strength. It is Balram in the form of Sankarshan or Mahasankarshan, who holds all the universes on his head. I remember my grandmother mentioning one time when I was so little, probably 4 years old, I think, or 5 years. I remember I was in my KG or my first grade or something like that. And when I was sitting next to her, every evening she used to make the garland for Sinaji with the rose petals and mogra petals. And I used to sit with her on the bench right there on the bedstead outside. And she used to do that. And then suddenly there was some kind of a shaking. So, my grandmother said, Sheshnagni Puchdi Hali. So there was a slight earthquake actually, very slight. So she's saying that the Sheshnag, Ananta Shesh, the tail has moved. And that is the reason the bhukamp happens or the earthquake happens. Because the universes are on his head, and if he moves or even a little bit, then it can topple the whole universe. And you can imagine the weight of each universe. He is Balaram. Now this Balaram, who possessed unlimited strength, he is Bhagavan. One of the definitions of Bhagavan is unlimited strength, unlimited beauty, unlimited renunciation, unlimited knowledge, unlimited all fame, etc. So unlimited burden or strength. He tried, but he could not. He tried and tried, he could not open that knot. So then the question arises, why not? Why not? So the tattva is, or the philosophy behind this is, that this knot was tied in Vatsalya Ras by Mother Yashoda. And Sakhya Ras, Balram was in Sakhya Ras, or in the relationship of a friend or a brother. But Vatsalya Ras is considered more powerful than the Sakhya Ras. And therefore, a knot that is tied in Vatsalya Ras could not be opened by the knot that was tied in, or untied, or an attempt made by any Sakhas. So that is the reason that knot could not be opened. So these are so many wonderful nuances when we study such. It is just an astakam for most of us, but look how divine it is. It's like, today is the seventh session, and we are still into verse number 6. But I think it's amazing, as the spurtis are coming in, and as I'm remembering all these wonderful leelas. So like this now, all attempts fail, and then now Madhumangal is trying to have fun. He's the funniest of all, so he's trying to make forget Krishna, that what happened now, what to do, whenever Mother Yashoda is free, and when she feels softer, she will come and relieve you. So they start, making jokes, etc. And then somebody suggested, why don't we go outside and play Krishna? So Krishna looks at him, and then they say, oh, don't worry, Krishna, we'll roll you out. So like, yeah, that's a great idea. So now Krishna is happy that all his friends are there, and now they will have a new game today to play. So they roll Krishna out into the front yard, and then they all start, playing kind of a hide and seek, or catch one another in a game. But Krishna is tied, and he is now actually crawling with the heavy motor behind him that is tied to him. And the boys are encircling him, and they're teasing Krishna. And Krishna, then they're saying that you have to touch me, Krishna, and if you touch me, then I am out. Or, so like this, Krishna is making attempts to touch them, and like that, they are all going in circles. But Krishna is bound to a heavy grinding motor, so he's on his knees. And then while this is happening, in the main courtyard, there is a tree. Actually, there are two trees, but they kind of have a two different main trunks. But in the middle, it's like one. So Krishna actually says that I will try to take a shortcut and catch them by going through that opening of between the Yamal Arjun trees. So Krishna goes in between, and then what happens? He gets stuck. Perhaps Yog Maya made him forget that there was an ukkal behind him, and that ukkal, or the grinding motor, when he tried to pass through it, it got stuck. So like this, when it got stuck, Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, upset at not being able to catch his coward boyfriends, he then immediately tugged at it, and then he actually displayed his Aishwarya power for a split of a second. And then what happens suddenly? When he tugs at those trees, both the huge Yamal Arjun trees, they come falling down crashing. And in between is Sri Krishna. And there is a thunderous sound that happens when these trees fall down. And at that time, amazingly, two personalities that look very beautiful, very heavenly, they come out of those trees, and they circumambulate Sri Krishna, and they start offering prayers to him. And when they do that, all the coward boys are watching, and then after they offer prayers, then they disappear from that place. So now, so far, this Leela has progressed into the part where Krishna has toppled those trees, and two heavenly personalities, they come out of those trees like magic. So the 7th verse now comes into play. So Satyavrat Muni, in his great humility, is remembering this pastime, that Kuver Atma Jao Baddha Murtaiva Yadvat Taya Mochitau Bhaktir Bhajo Krutavcha Tatha Prema Bhaktim Swakamya Prayacha Na Mokshi Grihamasti Damodareha. So it is almost 8:30 now. I will stop here and I will go into the deeper nuances or the meanings. We will dive deeper into the seventh verse next session. That will be session number 8. I think we will be able to complete 7 and 8 in our next session. So thank you very much, and waiting to have your association next Sunday. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. All glories to Satyavrat Muni. All glories to Naradji. All glories to Sri Sri Yashoda Damodar. All glories to Radha Damodar Dev. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya Acharya Guruvar ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.